What's up, everybody, and welcome back to After the Snap. I'm your host, Tasha Pierce, and this week, for the first time in 53 years, 60 Minutes covered a story concerning UFOs. 60 Minutes, one of the most serious of the network news shows, covered UFOs. And in fact, I may do a full episode on that 60-minute segment that was about the UFOs. But basically, what was confirmed, unidentified flying objects are real. So we've covered that. We've talked about it. We've discussed it. What the government calls unidentified flying object or unidentified aerial phenomenon, it might not be what we all believe it is. We all think UFO means an alien aircraft. To the US government, it might mean something entirely different, right? Right, okay. So they basically are saying that the United States government is now telling you that UFOs are real. What UFOs are, in fact, is an entirely different thing for an entirely different day. But this story that I'm going to share with you today, you may have heard of it. It's called the Cash-Landrum incident. It takes us all the way back to December 29th of 1980. Now the government is saying, okay, yeah, UFOs are real. We don't know what they are. And there are Air Force and Navy pilots who say that they encountered UFOs. That in the back of your mind as we talk about the Cash-Landrum incident, because I'm starting to think here that they owe some people apologies or money or something, because this story is entirely credible to me. And it takes a lot for me to say that. It is a credible story. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and her grandson, Colby, were driving home after going out to dinner. Home was Dayton, Texas, and the ride there took them through a wooded area on an isolated road. It was approximately 9 p.m., and unbeknownst to the occupants of Betty's Cutlass, they were about to embark upon a shared experience right out of the Twilight Zone. So what really happened that December evening? And how did that ride home change their lives? If you are as curious as I am, just keep watching. So, like I said before, it's roughly 9 p.m. Everybody is feeling full after dinner at Fuddruckers or wherever the hell they went, when all of a sudden they see a light above the tree line. Now, they were about 35 miles from Houston Intercontinental Airport, so seeing lights wasn't unusual. What was odd was after a few minutes of driving, the light seemed to get closer and brighter, blinding even. That ain't no plane. It was then that Vickie asked Betty to stop the car. So Betty stopped and even got out of the car. She stepped out of the vehicle to get a closer look at the source of this light. Hovering above the trees, there was a diamond-shaped craft. The top and the bottom were kind of rounded, and the flames shot out the ass of this ship. Betty returned to the Cutlass, but as she attempted to open the door, she found the handle so hot. As a matter of fact, it was hot as hell to touch. So hot it burned her hand. And Vickie was shouting at Colby in the car, telling him to not be afraid because he was witnessing the second coming of Christ. Because that's not at all terrifying to an 8-year-old kid. To me, this would be a response that is almost expected. You see this bright light coming out of the sky. If you were raised in Christianity, I was once a Christian myself. So I know that I see a light in the sky so bright and blinding that you can barely look at it. I would have thought at one time that it was the Son of God coming back as well. So this is what Vickie was explaining to her grandson, Colby, that, oh, the rapture is about to happen. That's Jesus. That's Jesus. And Colby is scared shitless because he's a kid, and everything he's heard about Jesus probably is, if he don't take you up, you going down. But anywho, the heat emanating from the UFO was damn near melting the car's interior. It was hot enough that the vinyl dash had the imprint of one of the ladies' hand. Her hand literally made her handprint on the dash of the car. Now, I would have jumped my ass in the driver's seat, put that thing in reverse, and pieced out. But Betty thought that would be a mistake. She thought it was a mistake because the road was narrow and she didn't want to risk driving off the side of the road. The ground was wet and she feared that she would get stuck. In hindsight, I bet you Betty wished she would have just backed that car up. So you just sat there and let the UFO bake you and your precious cargo, because that's basically what happened. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First came the military helicopters, 23 Boeing CH-47 Chinooks to be exact. The choppers flew in formation around the UFO and seemed to escort it right out of sight. And this makes one hell of a story if things would have just stopped here. Unfortunately for Betty, Vickie, and Colby, shit was just getting started. The next day was not fun for them. It consisted of nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting for all of them. On top of that, they presented with weakness, burning eyes, and a sunburn sensation on their skin. Now, within a couple of days, Betty began to break out in blisters and clumps of her hair was falling out. So by January 3rd, and remember, the sighting was December 29th. By January 3rd, she had been admitted into the hospital with what she described as radiation sickness. Now, the Landrums were lucky. They only suffered from lesions, hair loss, and extreme fatigue and weakness. Betty had gotten out of the car. She got closer to that craft than either of the other two occupants. Vickie Landrum later developed cataracts in her eyes, and poor Betty wound up with breast cancer. Now, the U.S. government ended up with a big fat lawsuit because those military helicopters showed up like they knew what the UFO was and they were aware of its presence. Betty and Vickie got a pro bono attorney and faced off against Uncle Sam. Things didn't go well in the courtroom, though. Now, though their testimony was considered credible, the ladies lacked proof, and there were no records that indicated the state of Vickie and Betty's health prior to the incident. And that's totally understandable. It's like, why would I go and have a full workup to see if I have radiation in my body if I've never been exposed to radiation? So that I wouldn't have done that prior to this incident. I would only do it in response to the incident, especially given the state of healthcare in the United States. This was 1980. Even now, if I'm not sick, I don't go to the doctor because I have to pay. Because whole different video, whole different day, right? Also, another issue for the ladies in court was that the area around where the UFO was spotted and the vehicle, neither one of those showed signs of exposure to radiation when tested with a Geiger counter. Now, ufologists claim that the plaintiffs may have been exposed to gamma radiation, which wouldn't leave any residuals in the area or on the vehicle. It apparently wouldn't make them turn into gigantic green rage monsters either. No, this experience made them sick, like literally made them sick. The entire experience left them with a big old L. They took a L like you wouldn't believe in this lawsuit, and they were, again, very, very, very sick. They went on to live for quite a while after the incident. Betty passed away at age 69, which was 18 years after the incident, and Vickie made it to the ripe old age of 84. Now, to this day, Colby, who is now in his late 40s, still wants answers for what happened on that December evening of 1980. I want answers too. And I doubt very seriously that the United States government is going to admit that there was a UFO encounter that they were aware of, that they sent in helicopters and did not tell the one vehicle that was in the area when the UFO was spotted to leave. That is all they would have had to have done, is to evacuate that car with those civilians in it. If they would have evacuated those people and escorted the UFO wherever it was that they were taking it, probably to Area 51, right? But if they would have done that, then they would have done their due diligence. But instead, it was hushed. This family, or these people, were made to feel as if they were making things up. And even to the point of saying that they had reasons. Oh, maybe Betty knew she had cancer already, and that's why she faked this UFO sighting. There were other witnesses, not enough for the time. And that is one of the issues that I might have with this story. It was a kind of a rainy night, but there was other witnesses who saw all of these military helicopters that same evening. The military is saying, we didn't send no helicopters. We didn't have anything going on over there, that they have to be mistaken. How do two separate groups of people come up with the same story on the same night if they didn't see something? And if you've ever seen a Chinook helicopter, you don't make a mistake. You understand and realize and know that is a military helicopter. And if I see it again, I can point it out. And that's exactly what Vickie and Betty did. So unfortunately, they were made to feel as if they were losing their shit, when in fact, they could have very well had a close encounter with a UFO. And now we are expecting the United States government to produce a report to let us know what they know about UFOs. We have several people on the 60-minute segment who are saying, yes, we absolutely know that there are UFOs out there, and they are attached to the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which is a government program. So if we are admitting now that UFOs exist, that we have no clue where they're coming from, we don't know if they're alien, we don't know if they're from a foreign military, we don't know much at all. What we do know is that a lot of what these aerial vehicles do is breaking the laws of known physics. It sounds to me like they have some splaining to do about what happened to Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and Colby Landrum, because we need answers. And Colby is still waiting to find out what he experienced. But I think the government owes Colby more than an apology. They owe him some type of settlement to kind of pay back for treating them as if they were cuckoo or Cocoa Puffs. So what do you think? What do you think of the Cash-Landrum incident? And do me a favor, leave your thoughts about that in the comments down below. While you're at it, if you have not done so already, please like and subscribe to this channel, please. And if you'd like to assist the channel financially, I've got a Patreon. It's at patreon.com/afterthesnap. I'd love to have you as a member of my community. So if there's nothing else, I've got some great stuff coming up for you. Just keep your eyes open, turn your notifications on so you will never miss an upload, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.